Barbell lifts and weighted bodyweight exercises are king for getting big. Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. Thought I would chat with you guys and gals a little bit about this today, but a quick reminder, if you guys will please click a like down below, be greatly appreciated. If you are not following or subscribed, please do so. And if you would be so kind as to drop me a comment down below, I would also greatly appreciate that. Thank you so much. All right, let's get over to the topic. So I'm not saying isolation doesn't have a place. I say all the time it does. I personally do curls. I do dumbbell work. I'm even going to do calf raises in here, but they're a heavy barbell exercise, right? These things have their place. But when it comes to your actual size, you're not going to stand around building your body up with isolation work, right? You're not going to do it. Could you, in theory, do it with machines if you had a really, really good machine selection? Sure. But you're going to need a really good machine selection. And hey, I'd be the first to say I could probably go through on a bunch of hammer strength machines if they had a leg press particularly. Yeah, you could definitely get big doing that, no problem whatsoever. But you're going to get a lot of efficiency out of these other movements. Okay, you're going to get a lot of efficiency out of the big barbell exercise. You're going to get a lot of efficiency out of weighted bodyweight movements, which, by the way, the back squat counts as both. No coincidence, it happens to be the king of exercises. But even if we took the calf raises out that I have here, the exercises I'm doing in this video, most of you would get pretty big if you did just these movements, right? Not saying you shouldn't do some delts and bicep work and stuff, but what do you see me doing just throughout this video? Bench press, weighted chin-ups, weighted dips. Okay, there's a whole lot of upper body. You see me doing back squats, see me doing deadlifts. Man, those 5 exercises, that's a lot. And before anyone says, what about triceps? Dips are one of the better tricep exercises, even if the bench ends up being just chest for you, which it should be if you're doing it correctly. All right, squat and deadlift. Entire lower body gets worked. Okay, the entire lower body. And it's always weird. Like, I've seen coach friends of mine who are great coaches. I know a guy, I've watched Matt Griffiths talk about that before. I've met him at multiple events, refereed next to him, even as a powerlifter over in the UK when I was doing judging and stuff. And I've seen him point that out, and he's got, of course, a master's in exercise science. He's like, guys, if you look at all the data, the deadlift is a phenomenal hamstring exercise. He's like, don't let people tell you won't build hamstrings on the deadlift, because the deadlift's hard on recovery. Like, that's our issue with it. Not that it doesn't build muscle. It's like it will build big glutes and hamstrings. So again, you got to look at this situation where people will look at a lift like that and think it's not building anything. It's ludicrous. Squats and deadlifts, you will build massive thighs off the 2 of those, assuming you can recover from them, right? Assuming you can recover from them. But things like the weighted dips and weighted pull-ups help. And that's another big point with the weighted body weight exercises like that. All right. We've got that recovery to factor in. People are like, when you do squats and deadlifts, we have to, the low back's going to get fatigued. You're going to have axial fatigue. You're going to have all these problems. Yeah, but what happens if you start doing this stuff? Okay? This is why I like a lot of traction-based movements. Right? It's why I like them. Given a choice, I don't know that I would do anything other than my isolation work. Realistically, either something should probably be a big movement, or it should create traction. But I digress. Back over to the point. Traction-based movements. The weighted dip, weighted chin-up, weighted pull-up. You have a belt hanging around your waist. That helps with your recovery from these big movements. So again, this is why I say this sort of stuff works really, really well. Works really well. All right? Like, even if a person didn't want to bench press, squat, deadlift, weighted chins, weighted dips, they bring a lot to the table. I'm not saying that's all anyone would ever need, but you build a heck of a base. And the upper body lifts put traction on the low back too. help with the restoration of the lower body lifts. But back over to that squat and deadlift. Tremendous amount of leg development from them, and even glutes. People are like, well, the squat is just quad. Well, studies show glutes adductors grow a lot. And the same thing from the deadlift. People will argue. It's kind of strange. They'll be like, well, it's just a lower back exercise. I'm like, I hope you're kidding. Builds traps, builds glutes, hamstrings. It will build quads to some extent. But if you kind of look at the overlap, the whole lower body will get worked. Right? The whole lower body will get worked from the squat and deadlift. What about then the upper body benefits? Haven't the studies that looked at it, the only one that looked at it to see the growth, actually found there was significant upper body growth, just on DEXA scans from the squat and the deadlift. And think about it, there should be. Why wouldn't there be? The deadlift did more than the squat, obviously. Does anyone really think you're not going to build traps from it? Anyone think you're not going to build any lats from it? The same people who will try to get you to squeeze your scapula together will sit there and argue about the deadlift, right? But you guys are over here talking about squeezing your scapula together, which I think is minimal. But a deadlift's going to do it way more than you're going to do on a seated row or a lat pull down. Think about the tension difference in that squeezing position with hundreds of pounds on the bar. Yeah, come on. But these exercises will get you big because they all work large amounts of muscles. They all work a lot of then stabilizers too, various stabilizers. And by stabilizers we mean your core, your abs, your low back, all the muscles of the trunk. They all, to some extent, some potential for dynamic stabilizers, and it's small, but it does accumulate. Right? People say, well, the hamstrings don't get work. There's dynamic stabilizer on the squat. That's true. But they do show a small amount of growth in studies from squat only. So same thing. Look at your benching. Your biceps and stuff are stabilizers. Your upper back is stabilizers. All right? It does matter. Right? It does matter. There's something to be said for it. And that's the point I'm making. All this muscle gets worked. Right? All this muscle gets worked. And the beauty of it is some of these movements put traction back on the back. So if you're trying to get big, this is where your focus needs to be. Right? This is where your focus needs to be on all these exercises, the big barbell movements, weighted body weight movements, and then fill in the gaps. If you need more rear delt, do rear delt work. If you need more biceps, do bicep work. If your hamstrings are lagging, do hamstring work. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys and gals next time.